Alright, this is my video of my classroom management portfolio, as you can see here. Much of my philosophy has to do with student responsibility and students learning to take responsibility for their own actions. I do want it to be a positive classroom environment, and I do want students to develop and grow during the school year. This first page here is my personal philosophy as far as what student responsibilities should be and teacher responsibilities. I do like 3 theories as far as classroom management. They are moderate responses, or medium teacher control. And those things are logical consequences by Dreiker's, positive discipline, and discipline with dignity. A lot of these just have to do with the responsibility model for discipline with dignity, for example, where students really learn to help contribute to making the rules of the classroom, as well as following those rules. Some teacher responsibilities. A lot of my teacher responsibilities had to do with being an advocate and motivating students to learn for themselves and take responsibility for themselves, and then students was just working hard, learning from mistakes, and I feel like that goes along with my idea of firmness but being kind. And yeah, this is my democratic foldable, which I do believe in a democratic classroom. I do want students to participate in making the rules and that kind of thing. One thing that I like to point out is the classroom jobs that I have, and really teaching students leadership skills, learning how to talk with one another, and that leadership doesn't mean bossing other people around, but it means being a good example and being responsible. My intentions for motivation page, right over here, I have 5 different ideas listed, and a lot of my motivation for the things that I wrote down for how to motivate students were intrinsic motivation, or teaching them to become intrinsically motivated, because I think that is a lot better way to be motivated. And I do realize that sometimes there will be extrinsically motivated activities. One thing that I did write down was a pizza party, for example. I think it's a good way to bring the class together and to have some fun, and to realize that it's okay to have fun in the classroom, and that we are a good classroom community that works together, and we take responsibility for our actions. And then these are my behavior interventions. So when behavior issues do arise, I want to, of course, address those. One thing was, if a student is playing with an object, I will just take it and let them know that they can come get it at recess and then continue teaching. I don't want the object to become even more of a distraction in class, so I will just do that quickly, and students will know that that's the expectation. That's really something I'm big on, is knowing expectations ahead of time, so that they know how to react. For a student who constantly tattles, I'll just remind them that we are all responsible for our own actions, and that they don't need to worry about other people, and that is a mild response. It's definitely not situational assistance, because I'm not just ignoring it or whatever. I am addressing it, but it is also not a huge deal that's putting anyone in danger. And then the third thing I wanted to talk about was 2 students talking to each other. Again, not a super huge deal, but it is something I need to address. So I will begin by using situational assistance, walking up to them, just using my proximity, letting them know that they need to be quiet during instruction. And then once I get the class going on something else, I will talk to them privately about what they were doing. So I'll fold this around. These are my rules and consequences. And my motivation behind the rules and consequences, I've already kind of mentioned it, is I want the students to participate in making those rules and taking responsibility for living by those rules. So of course, before the first day of class, I'll have some classroom rules in mind, but on the first day we will have an activity where we come up with those rules together. As far as consequences, not super severe, mostly just teaching students to be mindful of their actions and how it affects the rest of the classroom. Again, kind of same thing with my procedures. I do have classroom procedures listed out, just because it does help us maintain a routine and focus, and remember that focus is on learning and not like figuring out how to do stuff in the classroom. But yeah, a couple of things, like what to do when you need a new pencil, what to do when you first get to school, just so that students know the expectations. I really want them to know those expectations up front. And then lastly, I have what to do when another person is talking. That's a big part of respect and responsibility is to listen when others are talking, make sure your lips are zipped, and that you have your thinking brain on because you do want to listen to what they're saying. And then the last page is my classroom map. Can't see it very well, but in this corner is the teacher's desk, and it is opposite the classroom from the classroom door over here, but I can see all of the students while I'm at my desk. It's also close to the whiteboard up here, and I have a rug here for reading time. And the reason that I included the rug for reading time is because I do talk a lot about responsibility and having students take responsibility for their actions. They are also still kids, and one of the things that was very special to me as a kid was having my teacher spend time reading to us, and so that is something that I want to do in my future classroom. Finally, I have a copy of my personal philosophy in the back with my intentions for motivation paper and my classroom narrative. But overall, I do want to be an advocate for my students. I want them to know that I love them and that they are safe in the classroom. I want them to be reminded that school is a place to learn and to feel safe and to learn how to interact and take care of one another. And that's it.